On May 27, 1905, in the Tsushima Strait between Japan and Korea, the Russo-Japanese War comes to a violent and decisive end. The commander of the Japanese fleet, Admiral Togo, uses the superior speed and range of his fleet to outmaneuver the Russian fleet and defeat them with concentrated firepower. Russian losses were near total, while the Japanese fleet lost only 3 small torpedo boats. This devastating loss and disproportionate victory heralded a new era of naval power, with consequences none could foresee. One man who was paying close attention to the Battle of Tsushima was First Sea Lord Jackie Fisher of Britain's Royal Navy. Not content with the status quo, Fisher pushed for more modern warships that took into account what had been learned at Tsushima. Togo had engaged the Russian fleet at the relatively long range of over 6,000 yards, but had been proven that the fire from a battleship's main guns might be effective to distances 3 times that. The higher overall maximum speed of the Japanese fleet allowed it to cross the T of the Russians, concentrating their firepower while minimizing the Russian response. All these factors led to HMS Dreadnought being laid down on October 2, 1905. She was a revolutionary ship that combined several new ideas and technologies. The first and most important was the uniform main battery. The smaller secondary guns employed on battleships prior were intended to cause massive damage at short ranges due to their high rate of fire. At longer ranges, the splashes caused by their shots only made ranging a ship's main guns more difficult, while contributing little in terms of firepower. By mounting only large 12-inch guns with the latest in fire control technology, Dreadnought could shoot a greater number of larger shells further while only ranging one set of guns. The result was more firepower, delivered more accurately and more quickly than ever before. The second most important feature of Dreadnought was her use of steam turbines for propulsion, the first warship to do so. More efficient and lighter than conventional reciprocating steam engines, turbines gave Dreadnought a distinct edge in speed. Whereas most other contemporary battleships could do no more than 18 knots or 33 kilometers per hour, Dreadnought was capable of 21 knots or 38 kilometers per hour. While it might not appear to be a large difference, it was more than enough to allow Dreadnought to keep her distance and leverage her massive gunnery advantage at longer ranges. The power of steam turbines also allowed Dreadnought to carry thicker armor, rendering enemy gunnery less effective at any distance. The result of the launch of HMS Dreadnought in late 1906, little more than a year after construction began, was that every other warship on the planet was rendered obsolete. No battleship could match her firepower or speed, and any ship that could keep pace had little hope of harming her, aside from utilizing the new and unreliable torpedo. It is estimated that Dreadnought could best in battle 2 of what were now known as pre-Dreadnought battleships. In effect, Dreadnought reset the balance of naval power. Whoever had the most Dreadnought battleships would control the seas. Whoever controlled the seas could lay claim to valuable colonies. By this time, Germany had already embarked on an extensive battleship building program, and Dreadnought only pushed it further. More naval laws were enacted, diverting ever greater amounts of money towards Dreadnought battleship construction. Britain felt obligated to follow suit to maintain the superiority of the Royal Navy, creating an arms race. In South America, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile all vied to be the preeminent regional power, and there was no greater expression of power than the Dreadnought. The cost was high, however. Dreadnought herself had cost £1.7 million, or over £160 million, adjusting for inflation. As subsequent designs became larger and more sophisticated, the price for each ship only increased. Despite growing awareness of the need for social programs and investment, nations continued to pour vast amounts of money into naval construction programs instead of domestic development. Each of these nations vied to maintain or improve their position in the balance of power. Although conflict was not intended, it became an almost inevitable consequence. The anticipated clash of the Dreadnoughts came in 1916 on the 31st of May. The German High Seas Fleet sortied in an attempt to destroy a portion of the British Grand Fleet, but encountered the entirety of the Grand Fleet off the coast of Denmark in what became known as the Battle of Jutland. All of the effort and expense of the previous decade led up to one of the most inconclusive naval battles in history. Although the High Seas Fleet was outnumbered and outmaneuvered by the Grand Fleet, poor handling of propellant charges on British battlecruisers meant damage inflicted was roughly equal. The great clash of the Dreadnought battleships led to nothing. Ultimately, most of the Dreadnoughts would end up as scrap metal after the war. Going forward, we would do well to remember the lessons of Dreadnought. Having a better weapon does not mean superiority. Moreover, when a revolutionary weapon is invented, the ultimate costs and consequences of it must be considered. Greater power to destroy does not in itself grant the wisdom to use it judiciously.